That goes back to that situational awareness, that just develop a little bit of it. Like, make yourself aware of how other people are being impacted by your behavior and what you're doing. What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. I cover a lot of different things on this channel, but I think I do need to cover from time to time current events. And one of the things that is ongoing in Japan is the issue of foreign over-tourism. I've done a couple videos before, but today I'm going to address the most common concerns and complaints from Japanese about the foreign tourists and my reaction to them. Because as I went over the couple of polls I saw on some of the news sites, as well as some YouTube videos that I've watched where there were basically interviews of Japanese people on the street, some of these things, while I can totally agree with the Japanese viewpoint, there's others that are more nuanced, where it's like, well, I can understand the Japanese point and the foreign tourists, as well as some where I'm not really sure it's really a fair complaint to be made against the foreign tourists. So I'm going to get into all of that, but I'm also going to end the video today with the one actual thing that I have as a complaint about foreign tourists in Japan. The one thing that's starting to get on my nerves a little bit here as a foreign resident, based on the huge boom in foreign tourists. So stick around to the end to get what is actually my pet peeve at the moment. All right, the first one I'm going to talk about, which is really the elephant in the room: trash and littering. There is a lot of trash and litter on the streets these days. The tourists basically are caught red-handed. There absolutely is littering happening, and let's first get it out of the way. Please don't litter. Please avoid littering. It's not nice in any country, especially one where the cities are as clean as they are in Japan. So let's just not do it. But that said, I do have to say that this is a situation where it's kind of like an unstoppable force is meeting the immovable object. What wins? And you've got tourists coming in droves. And while there isn't really a full-on tourist problem in terms of numbers, it is a problem in terms of the fact that they all go to the same places. And so you've got hordes and hordes of tourists in areas like around Kiyomizudera in Kyoto, or in Sensoji in Tokyo, etc. With that many people, it's going to happen. It's just the case that when you have that huge crowd of people in those places, you have all types of people in the world. Some of them are going to be really polite and carry their garbage home with them. Some of them are going to be really impolite and just toss it on the street. But here's where the immovable object comes in, or rather, the removable object. We have to remember that after the 1995 sarin gas attacks in Tokyo, for security reasons, public trash cans were largely removed from Japanese streets. So you've got people, a mass horde of humanity, of tourists, with all the garbage that they've got, and there might be a few garbage bins here and there. So those quickly become overflowed, and there's garbage coming out the sides, and people are like, well, it's a garbage pickup spot, so I'm just gonna put my garbage down here on the side. Gets kicked around, the crows come in, make a mess. Basically, you've got this lack of garbage cans on the streets. And there was actually a recent government survey that I read in NHK News. So this poll of visitors to Japan found that 22% of the visitors complained about lack of trash cans as one of their problems with traveling in Japan. They were tired of taking their garbage back to their hotel at night. And you can kind of get that sentiment, right? You're out all day as a tourist. You get something at the convenience store, you get something, from a souvenir shop, and you take the wrapper off, and everything is so ultra wrapped in plastic these days. You're not going back to your hotel until the evening, and you have to end up carrying this trash around with you all day. It's kind of vexing, as you can imagine, from the lack of trash cans. So in this case, yeah, be a good person, don't litter, but to expect it to not happen, especially with the number of people in these areas and the lack of trash cans, it's not a very fair ask in that respect. The next one on the list I also feel has some nuance that needs to be talked about. Common complaint: foreigners are loud and noisy, especially apparent when they're on trains, etc. And yes, cultural differences. In Japan, people are quiet in public. People are quiet on the trains. People hold conversations in lower, hushed voices. But other than that, the train is a very quiet place. Certainly no phone calls on the train. But in other countries, all those things are normal, especially just having normal voice conversations. And so trains in the US and elsewhere are quite noisy. That said, the one nuanced part I want to throw out there is that there's research into this that proves that foreign languages stand out to the ear more than your native language. So if you're having a quiet conversation in English or in Spanish or in German or something on the train, it's still going to be more apparent to the ears of Japanese people than if people are quietly speaking in Japanese. And I've observed this myself. I've lived here a long time. I've had conversations in English with friends on the train, with co-workers who are Japanese, and people give us looks. Not because we're talking loud. We've been here long enough to know that we keep our voices down. I have the experience of reading the room and checking what other people are doing, or are we being somehow obstructive or annoying. I do notice the glances that I get if I'm having a conversation in English. Simply because, and it's again proven by research, it stands out more. And so you could actually not be that loud and still be perceived as loud. The next one, I am 100% on the side of the Japanese who are complaining about this, with one small caveat. The complaint is that foreigners will sometimes skip the line or go to the front of the line and not queue up properly, especially again when getting on trains or possibly when lining up for a pay kiosk at a restaurant or something. They don't understand the system and butt to the head of the line. And yeah, that's one of those things. Just if you're a tourist here, be observant. Do as the locals do. You see people lining up to the side of the doors on trains, so you should do the same. It's not rocket science to just kind of have a little situational awareness. The one caveat I have to that was someone was talking about on an interview on YouTube how foreigners would be butting to the head of the line to take photos of a kiosk menu or a menu or something like that, or a message board with the fees of the attraction or something like that, and then using Google Translate to translate what the menu said, etc. And so they're not actually butting to the front of the line, they're just jumping to the front to get that photo, and then they go back to their place, which the person being interviewed found off-putting. Now, to me, that's actually kind of low-key polite, because that means you're getting your translation done before you get to the front of the line and then hold up the people behind you while you try to figure things out. I kind of think that's the polite thing to do. Jump ahead, get your translation so you're ready to go when it's your turn. I think maybe what's missing is just saying something simple like sumimasen, or even learning the phrase a little bit more complicated. Sumimasen, chotto shashin torimasu, like I'm gonna take a photo. So yeah, I think maybe the lack of saying something polite when you make that move makes it seem kind of rude, but overall, outside of that situation, yes, tourists need to pay attention to lines and the rules when it comes to basically standing in line and waiting their turn to do something. All right, the next one on the list is eating and drinking in public or while walking. It's been a long time manner in Japan that you're not supposed to eat and walk unless you're at some kind of event like a festival or an area that is dedicated to street food. So in general, you should avoid eating and walking. Now, this can be hard to figure out for foreign tourists. You have shotengai that sell stuff that looks like or seems like street food, but generally the rule is, if you want to avoid eating and walking where you shouldn't, where you buy the food, there should be a little bit of space and maybe even a garbage disposal spot for where you can eat it right there and then continue on your way, either with or without your garbage. Now, I think Beyond just being a manner though, the reason why Japanese think this is rude is because I've actually polled a lot of my students over the years where they think that manner comes from. What is the reason for that manner? And I don't think this is the actual answer, correct answer anyways, but they often say that it's about the garbage. The fact that you eat street food, it might have a stick in it, it might come in a little plastic container, and once you've eaten it while walking, the natural thing is to just kind of boink, throw it to the side and get rid of it and litter. So that seems to be a very connected concern to eating and drinking in public, that you're just going to throw your trash aside. I have to say though, the one thing I'll say in defense is that, well, I just walked through a tunnel that had a ton of trash along the side. In fact, I'm going to swing the camera around right now. You should be able to see right there. All right, let's be real. I'm 99.99% certain that it wasn't foreign tourists who threw that trash in those spots. So this is a problem. Litter is a problem in Japan, more so than you might believe. The difference is the Japanese throw away trash out of their car usually, and in less walked, less populated places. Like hardly anyone walks along this road, and so the trash along the side is not as much of a trouble or meiwaku for other people. So, oh, here it's okay to throw away the litter. It's just a different form of littering. But the issue is foreign tourists are dumb enough to do it in really public places. So, yeah, there you go. The next one, I'm totally on both sides of the fence when it comes to the next one, and that is foreigners being in the way with large luggage. I get it. They're in the way, especially on public transportation, but can you really fault them? You make a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Japan, you have big suitcases because you want to buy a whole bunch of cool stuff that you're going to take home. Not everyone can afford a $100 cab ride from a hotel in the central part of Tokyo all the way to Haneda Airport, things like that, so you're going to ride the train. And maybe your flight is 10 a.m., so you're going to be on the train during rush hour with your big giant bags. It's inconsiderate on the surface, but bottom line is, what else are they supposed to do, really? Now I get it, if they're standing in the middle of a sidewalk blocking everything and not moving, that's bad. Or if they get into a train and stop right in the doorway and just like stand there blocking everyone else trying to get in and out, that's bad. That goes back to that situational awareness, that just develop a little bit of it. Like, make yourself aware of how other people are being impacted by your behavior and what you're doing. Don't stop at the top of an escalator once you've gotten off yourself. There's still people coming behind you, right? So I get that part of it, but at the same time, you can't really just get on foreign tourists for having large luggage and riding transportation, because that's just unavoidable. The next one though, I am 100% on the side of the Japanese, and that is the filming or taking photographs in inappropriate places. Basically going into businesses where they don't want you to film, where they have signs that say no filming, and doing it anyways. That goes for temples. Temples and shrines sometimes have places where they ask you not to film, and it's very clearly marked. I still see foreigners doing it. There's a fire festival in my hometown in Japan where there's a part of the local festival where they bring out the goddess from the shrine. So the goddess will then ride in the mikoshi, or the portable shrine, through the town, and they ask you to bow your head and not film during that period. I see people filming. So yeah, blatantly not following the rules about filming. I'm absolutely not cool with that. Why? What am I doing right now? I'm out in public, I'm filming, I'm following the rules, but people who don't follow the rules reflect badly on everyone. And so what happens if they decide, okay, nuisance streamers, nuisance TikTokers who dance in the middle of Shibuya crossing, people who film themselves doing pull-ups on torii gates and all that nonsense that has been reported in the news. What if they decide, okay, regulations, Japan style, we just ban all filming in public, and what happens to my channel? That would suck. So please don't jump a fence to go onto private property to take that perfect photo. Don't lean over into the road where cars are going by so you can get that exact angle of Mount Fuji. Or worse yet, just run out into traffic. I drive through some of the busiest photography crazy areas in the Mount Fuji area at the moment, and I have to drive really slow and be careful when I go through that area because the possibility of some dum-dum just running into the street is pretty high. And that's the one thing, despite all of my years in Japan teaching me to be really non-confrontational, just like the rest of the Japanese populace. If I see people filming inappropriately or in a place they're not supposed to be, I will call you out. Believe that. The last one is an interesting one because it's not one that I would have thought would be a big issue for many people, but I saw it mentioned in a couple of different spaces, and that is foreigners who lead with English and don't try to do any Japanese at all. And I can get that it's polite to learn a few phrases in the host language when you're going, especially things like arigatou gozaimasu, thank you, sumimasen, excuse me, shinitai yatsu mai ni dero, the person who wants to die, step forward. Okay, maybe they don't want you to learn that one. But let me know in the comments if you know where that line comes from. Bonus points to you. That said, I get it. Leading in English is maybe even feeling a little confrontational. It can seem like a challenge because a lot of Japanese, even if they have some English skills, feel really nervous about speaking English, especially suddenly on the fly, out of the blue, someone's addressing them in English. And I can get where that could kind of knock you off your kilter and make you feel uncomfortable. That said, it is a tough ask that everyone learn some Japanese. For me, it feels like a polite thing to do. You learn the basics when you go to a new country. But is it really fair to expect that to come from all of the hordes of foreign tourists coming to Japan? That's going to be a tough one. It's just something that Japanese will probably have to get used to because, yeah, it's a kind of a tough expectation to put out there. But this leads me to my own personal pet peeve, which is a good piggyback off of the complaint I just talked about. But before I get into it, I want to ask you, if you've gotten this far in the video and you haven't hit the like button yet, you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? It's a free thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything. Go ahead and do it. It helps out the channel, helps the channel grow. Share this video if you think someone you know would be interested in it. There are ways to help me in terms of financially keeping the channel going, and those will be linked below, like buying SakuraCo treat boxes or learning Japanese online or even supporting me directly on Patreon. But at the end of the day, the like and subscribe, those are the best. So, what is my pet peeve about foreign tourists in Japan these days? Similar to the leading with English, I don't want Japanese staff leading with English with me. Not because it puts me off or surprises me, but because, unfortunately, 20 years here, I've become used to the impeccable Japanese service. The service that you get from Japanese workers when they greet you in Japanese, they help you in Japanese, they answer your questions in Japanese. It's a level of politeness that has just become normal and expected. And what happens is you've either got someone who knows little to no English, like what happened to me a few weeks ago in a restaurant when I entered and the person there, oh no, foreigner, I gotta use English, and what they managed was, you, sit here. That's a far cry from irashaimase, name-sama desu ka, hai kochira douzo. Like, it's just completely different level of politeness. And it's harsh. It's like, I've lived here for a long time and I kind of want to be treated the same way that everyone else does or is. Yeah, that's off-putting. And the people who have good English skills don't always necessarily have good English service skills. Because there is this impression in Japan that, oh, foreigners are very direct and, you know, English is not a polite language like Japanese, and so we can just be like, oh, hey, welcome to the restaurant, sit over there. Like, that might fly in the US, but for someone who's lived in Japan as long as I have, I want to get the same service as everyone else. So anyone who's Japanese who's watching this and you're in a service job or you're in a position where you're going to deal with foreign customers, my recommendation is lead with Japanese. And if they can handle the Japanese, go for it. If you lead with Japanese and the person who looks foreign is like, oh, what do I do? Then you could switch to English and work it out that way. But for those of us who can use Japanese and who have reached a sort of expectation about Japanese service, it's better to lead in Japanese and treat us the way we hope we can be treated. And that's the thing that the foreign boom has, or the foreign tourist boom rather, has led to, is me going into places and getting a very dumbed down, impolite, direct, almost authoritative service, because they end up using the imperative, sit here, rather than please take a seat kind of thing. Anyway, that's my pet peeve. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, like and subscribe. If you still haven't done it, what are you doing? Any rate, thank you so much for watching this video this week. And I've got a bunch in the pipeline right now. The PhD's done. I've got a lot of projects that I've got in the works, and I hope to be putting more videos out weekly. There will be always the weekly one on Saturday morning, Japan, Friday night, America time, but I think there's going to be a lot more midweek videos going forward, so please look for those. At any rate, thanks for watching this one. Catch you next time. Peace.